So today the plan is to go to Galilee and go to the town of Capernaum, which is where Jesus built his ministry, and then return to the Mount of Beatitudes. So on my last trip here in May 2014, I went to the Mount of Beatitudes, but I skipped Capernaum. I don't know why, but we did. So now I'm going to return. And while I'm there, I'm going to offer up some more revelations that I had a couple of nights ago, which I'm pretty excited to share. So basically, by my understanding, this is a grave site of a famous rabbi, maybe a Kabbalist, and the tree that stands next to his site is ancient, like hundreds of years old, and is huge. So I have returned to Galilee, and I am at the spot where they put a church here, where it is legend where Jesus multiplied the loaves and the fish and the wine. Next stop, we have arrived at what they call Kfar Nahum, which is known as the town of Jesus. Basically, this is where Jesus came to build his ministry after his travels, but we'll get to that in a bit. So in these symbols we see Star of David, which is the joining of the masculine and feminine, the sacred union. We see the pomegranate, which represents abundance, fertility, as well as there is the flower of life and many other sacred elements in these carvings. So we're about to enter the synagogue that was in the town of Capernaum. This was the village in front of the synagogue. So I want to take a moment to talk a bit about some revelation I had over the last 2 days around the life and times of Jesus. We know that Jesus was born in Bethlehem. We know that he is from Nazareth originally. We know that at 30 years old, he started his congregation here in Capernaum, and we know at 33 he was crucified. What we don't know is what happened in the other 80% of his life. What's come to me recently is the fact that he gets lost in the temple at 12 years old, and there he is seen sharing wisdom. And after that, we don't hear anything about him again until 30 years old. It is said that at 12 years old, Jesus left Palestine to go to Egypt. It took him 2 years to get to Egypt, so that would make him 14 years old. And at 14 years old, he spent 2 years in Egypt studying at the mystery schools of all the temples, and that's exactly what the temples were about. They were mystery schools. I know about for sure 2 temples that he did work in. Number 1, it's the card that I pulled in my Egypt trip, the temple of Sobek and Horus, where it's the reconciliation of the lower energies and the higher energies. And their initiates were asked to figure out the depth of their heart, the courage that their heart has. So Sobek is a crocodile god, and they had a pool in this temple. So this temple was on one side dedicated to Sobek, the crocodile god, and on the other side Horus, the falcon god, which is also the god of the son of Isis, Osiris. Initiates were asked to jump into this pool of crocodiles. Initiates who were scared would jump in and would not know what to do, and they would be basically eaten by these crocodiles. Initiates that had deep wisdom of their heart knew that they had to dive in head first and swim all the way to the bottom. At the bottom of this pool was a cave, so you had to swim through the cave. When you came up on the other side of the cave, you entered into the temple of Horus, which was the higher selves. The second initiation that he did was in the great temple of Giza. In the king's chamber there was a sarcophagus, and in that sarcophagus initiates were asked to lie down. They would close the sarcophagus on top of him. It was a test of fortitude or mindset. He was basically buried alive. Most initiates could do this for a while, but after a bit, their mind would get the better of them and start to freak out. The challenge was that they had to stay in this sarcophagus for 3 days and 3 nights. And the battle was about closing mind and having faith that all will be well. It was a process of resurrection. So when we talk about the resurrection of Jesus, where Magdalene comes to the tomb and he does the tomb is open and he's no longer there, it is said that he was in that tomb for 3 days, 3 nights. Was he just not an initiate, and was not resurrection an idea about transformation of one's own life? I'll come back to you with that shortly at the Mount of Beatitudes. This is the house of Peter in Capharnaum, and this is where Jesus did some healings. And when word spread of all of this, people came from all around trying to get him to heal them. Absolutely majestic. The Sea of Galilee on the shores of Capharnaum.